Residents in Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, were forced to take shelter in a subway station in the early hours of Friday. This as a Russian attack caused air raid alerts across the country. Social media footage showed people sleeping on the floors and benches. They were also seen pitching tents in corridors. Moscow has launched around 20 separate missile and drone strikes against Ukrainian cities since the start of May. Ukraine is claiming that the UN-brokered Black Sea grain export deal has been halted again. Kyiv is accusing Moscow of blocking the registration of ships to all Ukrainian ports. The Black Sea Grain Initiative was supposed to help tackle a global food crisis aggravated by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Ukraine is a leading global grain exporter. The United Nations and Turkey brokered the deal between Russia and Ukraine in July 2022. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has reiterated his country's criticism of Russia's invasion. However, Lula says he's been trying to remain neutral in order to be able to broker potential peace talks. Lula has pitched himself as a peace broker to end the war. But the Brazilian president irritated Western countries earlier this year when he suggested the West had been encouraging war by arming Ukraine. The United States has imposed the first sanctions related to the conflict in Sudan. The sanctions target 2 firms associated with the Sudanese armed forces and 2 others linked to the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary group. The US has also warned that it will hold accountable all those undermining peace in the Northeast African country. Taiwan and the United States have signed the first deal under a new trade talks framework. Taiwan's government has described the deal as the most comprehensive trade agreement signed with Washington since 1979. Meanwhile, Beijing detests any hint of diplomatic relations between Taiwan and other governments. This as China considers the self-ruled island as its own territory. US President Joe Biden tripped and fell after handing out the last diploma at the US Air Force Academy's graduation ceremony. 80-year-old Biden quickly got up on one knee, helped by 3 people, and walked back to his seat unassisted. As Biden was helped up, he pointed behind him, seeming to indicate what he tripped over. The White House has said that Biden tripped over a sandbag on stage while he was shaking hands. Chicago's City Council has approved $51 million in funding to help support asylum seekers. The development comes as hundreds of migrants in Chicago are still sleeping on police station floors. City leaders say nearly 10,000 asylum seekers have made their way to Chicago since August 2022, with dozens more arriving each day. Last month, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot declared a state of emergency in regards to the migrant issue. Thousands of protesters took to the streets in Florida's Immokalee on Thursday. The demonstrators voiced their opposition to a controversial immigration bill passed by Governor Ron DeSANTIS. The bill aims to introduce stringent measures aimed at curbing immigration. Parts of the proposed law include rules that any employer with over 25 employees will have to use an e-verify system for documentation. Sri Lanka's President Ranil Wickremesinghe has said that his country's economy is on the road to recovery. Wickremesinghe took the reins last July and negotiated a $2.9 billion bailout from the International Monetary Fund this March. The South Asian island republic plunged into crisis in 2022 as its foreign exchange reserves ran out. BRICS foreign ministers have asserted their bloc's ambition to rival Western powers. This is during the ongoing meet in South Africa. However, the talks were overshadowed by questions over whether Russia's President Vladimir Putin would be arrested if he attended a summit in August. The ministers also discussed plans to potentially admit new members to the club. Once viewed as a loose association of disparate emerging economies, BRICS has taken more concrete shape since the start of the Ukraine war. UK PM Rishi Sunak's administration has refused a demand from the UK's COVID-19 inquiry to hand over former Prime Minister Boris Johnson's WhatsApp messages and pandemic diaries. The refusal has set up a legal battle that risks amplifying accusations of a cover-up. The approach has also opened Sunak up to accusations that he's attempting to cover up sensitive information. 14-year-old Dev Shah, an Indian-origin boy from Florida, has won the 2023 Scripps National Spelling Bee Championship. Shah nailed the word Samophile, meaning an organism that thrives in sandy soils, in the 15th round of the contest's finals. He edged out fellow 14-year-old Charlotte Walsh from Virginia. Walsh finished in second place after she misspelled Davali, a Scottish-rooted word for listlessly, in the 14th round. Canada's government is sending its military to the eastern province of Nova Scotia. This is being done to contain the raging wildfires. The US has also pledged additional firefighters to fight the blaze. This comes after Nova Scotia's administration requested help to contain the wildfires. A record-breaking heat wave is scorching parts of eastern Canada. Temperatures reached 34 degrees Celsius, an all-time high. This breaks the previous record by 4 degrees. The hot and dry weather is the cause of the multiple wildfires across the country. More than 200 fires have already burned through over 3 million hectares of land. Meanwhile, residents in the US state of California are fighting wildfire with fire. They are igniting dried timber to create small and controlled flames. This is known as prescribed burning. The idea is to preemptively burn dried timber and extinguish it in a controlled manner. This is done to prevent the risk of wildfires spreading from dried timber to healthy plants. A tornado swept across rural areas of China's northeastern province, Liaoning. At least a dozen people were injured by the twister. Over 60 residential buildings and 30 hectares of farmland were destroyed. Southern Taiwan is experiencing its worst drought in decades. The region is home to the Sioux tribal group. Water levels in the island's south have plummeted below 10% this year. The tribe is facing a decline in bamboo crop production due to the drought. This year, the tribe has harvested only 1/3 of last year's harvest. Climate activist group Just Stop Oil took out a march in the streets of London. They briefly held up the England cricket team's bus headed to the Lord's cricket ground for a test match against Ireland. The group spokesperson said that the protest highlighted the fact that climate change would affect everyone. Indonesia has introduced ecotourism in the capital, Jakarta. Now, tour groups in Jakarta's backwaters can plant saplings to aid the conservation of mangroves. This prevents flooding in the city as mangroves provide natural defenses against high tides. While ecotourism is slowly catching on, Indonesia still struggles to maintain its over 7,000 hectares of mangroves. Scientists have strapped vultures with satellite-tracked backpacks to conserve lion and leopard populations. This is in Zambia's Kafue National Park. The trackers help wildlife managers to locate the carcasses of big cats when the vultures surround the dead animals. Lions and leopards face the threat of poaching and poisoning in Zambia. Livestock owners often poison dead cows to kill big cats that come to feast. This also poses a threat to the vultures. Financial firm JP Morgan will reportedly shut 21 branches of First Republic Bank by the end of the year. This will account for about a quarter of the failed lender's branches. About 100 employees will be affected by the bank closures. JP Morgan took over First Republic in May after it became the largest bank to collapse since the 2008 financial crisis. Australia's largest pension fund, Australian Super, has frozen all future contracts with PricewaterhouseCoopers. The fund was paying the financial firm more than $1 million a year for its services. These included the audit of Australian Super's financial reports. PwC Australia is facing intense scrutiny over the leak of confidential government documents. Elon Musk's Starlink has received a contract from the Pentagon. The Pentagon is buying the Starlink satellite communications terminals and services being used by the Ukrainian army. This is so that Starlink won't have to privately fund the war effort. Starlink has been used by Ukrainian troops for a variety of efforts, including battlefield communications. The Pentagon did not disclose the terms of the contract. Clothing retailer Gap has settled a lawsuit with apparel maker Patagonia. Gap was accused of illegally copying Patagonia's iconic snapped flap pocket design in its jackets. Patagonia alleges that the jackets were intended to confuse shoppers into believing they were its products. The terms of the settlement have not been disclosed. The US Transportation Department has fined British Airways $1.1 million. The airline allegedly failed to provide timely refunds to passengers. This was for customers traveling to and from the United States during the COVID-19 pandemic. The travel department says that since March 2020, it received over 1,200 complaints against the UK-based airline. According to reports, Twitter's head of trust and safety, Ella Irwin, has resigned. Irwin joined the company in June 2022. Later, in November, she took over as the head of the trust and safety team. In her new role, she oversaw content moderation in the social media platform. This comes as Twitter faces increasing criticism over its lack of protection against harmful content on the platform. However, the reason for Irwin's departure has not been made public. Netflix shareholders have withheld their support for the company's executive pay package. This comes after the Writers Guild of America urged investors to vote against the compensation. The union says that if Netflix has the resources for executive compensation, it can also offer better pay to the striking writers. The WGA has been protesting for nearly a month. Meta says that it will begin tests to limit news content on its platforms in Canada. The tests will be done over Facebook and Instagram. It will limit users and publishers from viewing or sharing some news content. This comes in response to Canada's proposed Online News Act. The legislation will need platforms like Meta and Google to pay Canadian news publishers for their content. Japan's Personal Information Protection Commission has issued a warning to ChatGPT creator OpenAI. This is regarding the collection of user and third-party data in its machine learning process. The watchdog has warned that it may take additional steps if it recognizes more concerns. This comes as governments around the world are growing apprehensive about the security risks related to generative AI tools. Data on the popular file transfer tool MoveItTransfer has been compromised. Hackers have stolen data from the systems of several users. So far, there are no details of how many people have been impacted by the breach. Earlier on Wednesday, the tool's software maker disclosed a vulnerability in its system. Progress Software Core said that the vulnerability could lead to potential unauthorized access to its customer systems. Moving to sports. In hockey, India beat Pakistan 2-1 to lift the Junior Asia Cup trophy. The final was played in the city of Salalah in Oman. Early goals by Angad Bir Singh and Arijit Singh secured a lead for India. Pakistan's Abdul Barashat scored the only goal for his team. After the win, India lifted their 4th Junior Asia Cup, the highest among all teams. They've previously lifted the trophy in 2004, 2008 and 2015. In badminton, India's Lakshya Sen advanced to the quarterfinals at the Thailand Open. Sen beat China's Li Shifeng in just 49 minutes. 20th ranked Sen beat 4th seed Feng 21-17, 21-15. He will now face Malaysia's Jun Hao in the next round. In cricket, England dominated Ireland on day 1 of the Lord's Test match. Ireland was bowled out for 172 runs. Pacer Stuart Broad took a 5-wicket haul as he decimated Ireland's batting order. England have begun chasing Ireland's target. They ended the day trailing by 20 runs with 9 wickets remaining. In football, Manchester City and rivals Manchester United will face each other in the FA Cup final on Saturday. The Manchester Derby clash will be played at Wembley Stadium. United have won 5 of their last 6 FA Cup meetings with Man City. United are contesting their 21st FA Cup. Meanwhile, this will be City's 12th appearance at the FA Cup final. They've won the trophy 6 times. VfB Stuttgart thrashed 10-man Hamburg SV in the first leg of the relegation playoff. Hosts Stuttgart finished the match 3-0. They scored in the first minute of playtime. They added 2 more goals in just 3 minutes into the second half, extending their lead. After that, Hamburg defender Anssi Sohunen was given the red card for a high kick against a Stuttgart player. Paris Saint-Germain coach Christophe Galtier has confirmed that Lionel Messi will play his final game for the club on Sunday. The manager confirmed that Messi did not renew a deal with PSG for next season. The Argentine legend will be given a farewell after his final game when PSG host Clermont. PSG are currently looking to end the season on a winning note, having already clinched the Ligue 1 title. After Sevilla defeated AS Roma 4-1 on penalties to lift their 7th Europa Cup yesterday, they were given a jubilant welcome by their fans. The team was paraded through the streets of Sevilla town. Excited fans cheered as the club's captain, Jesus Navas, unveiled the trophy. In tennis, 4th seed Casper Ruud advanced to the 3rd round of the French Open. Ruud looked solid as he beat his Italian opponent 6-2, 6-2, 7-5. He will now face China's Zhang on Saturday. Meanwhile, Iga Świątek continued dominating the Roland Garros. She overpowered America's Claire Liu 6-4, 6-0. Poland's Świątek will now face China's Wang in the 3rd round on Saturday. In basketball, Denver Nuggets beat Miami Heat in Game 1 of this year's NBA Finals. Denver's Nikola Jokic had a triple-double game as his team beat Miami 104-93. He scored 27 points with 10 rebounds and 14 assists. Denver will now host Miami for Game 2 on Sunday. Moving on to entertainment, director Wes Anderson's latest film, Asteroid City, is set to open the 38th Guadalajara Film Festival. Actor Eva Longoria's directorial debut, Flamin' Hot, will also be screened at the event. A total of 170 feature films and documentaries are part of the lineup. The film festival will take place from the 3rd to the 9th of June in Guadalajara, Mexico. Actor Tom Holland has said that the development of a 4th Marvel Spider-Man film has been paused. This is due to the Writers Guild of America strike that began in May. He said that film meetings have been halted in solidarity with the writers. The movie franchise's producer, Amy Pascal, also expressed solidarity with the WGA. A paparazzi photographer has sued Kanye West for assault, battery, and negligence. The photographer, Nicole Lechmanek, has alleged that the rapper grabbed her phone and angrily threw it into the street. The incident got recorded on her camera. She's now seeking damages, claiming that she has sustained great mental and emotional pain. Singer Billy Joel has announced an end to his Madison Square Garden residency after 10 years. He will end his record-breaking residency on the 24th of July 2024. Joel has held about 150 concerts in New York during this time. He has sold more than 1.6 million tickets for his residency. A never-before-seen private collection belonging to late singer Freddie Mercury is up for auction at Sotheby's. Over 1,500 items will soon go under the hammer. These include stage costumes, handwritten lyrics, art, and collectibles. The previews will be held in New York, Los Angeles, and Hong Kong. The main exhibition will be held in London on the 4th of August. Items from the personal collections of actors Joanne Woodward and Paul Newman are also being auctioned at Sotheby's. The auction is titled The World of Joanne Woodward and Paul Newman. It will have over 300 items that the star couple acquired through their 50-year marriage. It will go on sale in 3 parts in New York. Popular sitcom The Office is getting an Australian reboot with a female lead. Stand-up comic Felicity Ward will play the role of a manager at a packaging company called Finlay Craddock. The role was played by Steve Carell in the American version. This is the 13th remake of the show and the first to have a female lead. The 2023 TRIBECA Festival has announced jury members. A mix of directors, writers, and actors are part of the jury. It includes actors Brendan Fraser and Stephanie Hsu. The jury will select winning projects in the film, immersive games, and audio storytelling sections. Fashion designer Roberto Cavalli has launched a capsule collection outside the traditional catwalk calendar. A capsule collection is a limited edition compressed offering by a designer for a fashion house. The collection is inspired by Greek mythology and is called Wild Leda. It was launched at Selfridges in London. This is part of the luxury label's effort to rebrand itself with a disruptive image. Jordan's Crown Prince Hussein bin Abdullah got married to Saudi Arabian architect Rajwa Al Saif. The ceremony was attended by 140 guests that included heads of states and royals. The couple drove along the streets of Jordan's capital Amman to greet the public soon after the nuptials.